Okay, it's 1:32. Good afternoon. I call this hearing to order. My name is Tamara Waltz. I am General Counsel for the Nebraska Department of Education, and I will be the presiding officer conducting the hearings virtually today, May 30th, 2023, using the Zoom platform on the proposed revisions to, number 1, Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 20, which is Rule 20. Regulations for the approval of educator preparation programs, formerly Regulations for approval of teacher education programs. Number 2, Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 21, also known as Rule 21, regulations for the issuance of certificates and permits to teach, provide special services, and administer in Nebraska schools. Number 3, Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 24, also known as Rule 24, regulations for certificate endorsements. And finally, last but not least, number 4, Title 93, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapters 1 to 16, the Nebraska Department of Education Personnel Rules. The legal notice of hearing was published in the Omaha World Herald on April 27th of 2023. The hearing for each rule will be held separately and in numerical order. To begin the hearing on each rule, a Nebraska Department of Education staff member will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony by interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to do as follows. Number 1, state and spell your first and last name and provide a general indication of where you live, your city, county, or school district, for example. Number 2, state a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the state board to take. And number 3, state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. You may certainly reinforce, but please refrain from repeating previous testimony. Each person testifying today will be limited to 5 minutes. At the conclusion of the testimony of all interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony presented today, and that will conclude the testimony on that particular rule. The testimony presented will be recorded, and the audio recording will be made available to the State Board of Education and the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of these rules later this week. All written testimony must be submitted to the hearing official prior to 5:00 p.m. today in order to be made a part of this hearing. The email for submitting written comments is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. This email address may also be found on the department's website, which is www.education.ne.gov. By following the rules and regulations link, which is on the right-hand side of the public notices page, where you link to the public notice of upcoming rule hearings. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 20, regulations for the approval of educator preparation programs, formerly called Regulations for Approval of Teacher Education Programs, with Kelly Heineke from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Kelly, are you with us?
I am.
You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kelly Heineke, and I am the Director of Educator Preparation Program Approval at the Nebraska Department of Education. The following is a short synopsis of the revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 20, Regulations for the Approval of Teacher Education Programs. Starting with Section 004.06F regarding the Basic Skills Test. In rule, it says prior to admission to a teacher education program, the candidate must have achieved a satisfactory score on an examination as specified in 92 NAC 23. This was the basic skills competency mandate for admission into an educator preparation program, and it was removed due to the passage of LB 1218. Next is Section 005.02H, instructional strategies. The candidate understands and uses a variety of instructional strategies to encourage students to develop deep understanding of content areas and their connections, build reading and writing skills through the application of the science of reading, and to apply knowledge in meaningful ways. This includes developing competency for utilizing technology for instruction, assessment, and communication. The science of reading was added to address the State Board of Education priority number 1, which is adapt Rule 20 to ensure the science of reading, for example, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary comprehension, fluency, and background knowledge is included as a requirement in educator preparation program accreditation. Next is section 006.01, administrative program academic requirements. This section was added in as the administrative program academic requirements for administrative endorsement programs, as the previous version of rule only contained these types of requirements for teachers and not for administrators. Next is the inclusion of section 009, titled Pilot Programs and Processes. Educator preparation programs within institutions of higher education to better meet local goals may submit a request for a pilot program or process to provide flexibility related to one or more regulations found in sections 004, 005, and 006 of this chapter. A pilot program or process may be requested in response to extenuating circumstances where an educator preparation program is unable to meet the requirements in Rule 20 regulations for the approval of educator preparation programs. A pilot program or process may also be requested if an educator preparation program creates an innovative solution to an unmet need. This was added in as the pilot or processes section to provide educator preparation programs the ability to innovate in response to extenuating circumstances. Additionally, other changes include technical edits for brevity and clarity within rule, such as changing the term teacher education program to educator preparation program, changing the term master's degree to professional degree from a college or university accredited by an accrediting organization recognized by the United States Department of Education, and changing the term graduate to program completer. This completes my synopsis.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, is there anyone who wishes to testify regarding the proposed revisions to Rule 20? If so, I believe you can use the raise your hand function in the chat, or perhaps you can just raise your hand and I can help you out that way. Ms. Jones, Sherry Jones. Okay. If you could please state your name, spelling your first and last name, and also tell us if you're testifying as an individual or on behalf of a various entity, and then I will start the timer for 5 minutes whenever you begin. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Sherry Jones, SHERRIJONES. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I currently serve as the Dean of the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. In that capacity, I'm here today to provide testimony in support of the proposed changes to Rule 20. As Nebraska's land-grant university, UNL is home to the College of Education and Human Sciences, a comprehensive state and nationally accredited educator preparation program. Our college is dedicated to preparing high-quality teachers, educational leaders, speech-language pathologists, school counselors, and school psychologists who effectively meet the diverse needs of Nebraska students and the larger educational community. We support the changes in Rule 20 because they provide additional and updated guidance as well as an added option for flexibility. The adjustment of the minimum requirement for in-person supervision of student teachers will provide us with much needed latitude. The student teacher supervision workforce challenges have dramatically increased in Nebraska, and this adjustment will allow us to continue to provide student teachers the option to select their location and be provided with quality supervision as they complete their programs. We also support the addition of the administrator program academic requirements section. Our educational administration program meets these requirements, and the inclusion of these requirements in rule ensures that quality preparation for education administrators will be in every program offered in Nebraska. And the addition of the pilot programs and processes section that provides program flexibility is a good one, and I believe will have some great impact. This addition will assist us in meeting the needs of the changing education workforce environment in real time by specifying a process for educator preparation programs to be innovative in their programming and strategies. And the requirement in this new section maintains quality control in that pilot programs must demonstrate success in relation to promoting quality learning, equity, and/or accountability. If an institution demonstrates these elements for the 6 total years allowed by the requirement, I would suggest that in the next round of rule changes, a component be added to the process to allow an educator preparation program who has had a successful pilot be able to add the pilot in a more permanent way. So I want to thank the State Board of Education for its dedication to ensuring the rules that guide educator preparation require high quality programming, but are current, reasonable, and flexible. I appreciate the board's time, dedication, and work to maintain the continued high achievement of Nebraska students and educators. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. All right, is there anyone else who would like to testify regarding the proposed revisions to Rule 20? Yes, I'm sorry, is it Lenahan? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, sir. If you could please state your first and last name spelling both for the record, and then
Yes.
also tell us if you're testifying individually or on behalf of a various entity or organization.
Yes, my name is Mark Lenahan, Mark Lenihan. I'm the superintendent at Wayne Community Schools, and I'm also the president of the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education, which is an advisory body to the State Board of Education. And I present this testimony on behalf of NCTE. The proposed revisions to Rule 20 will provide educator prep programs the flexibility to be innovative in the programs they offer while also maintaining quality controls to ensure Nebraska institutions produce high quality educators for Nebraska students. Schools want high quality educators working with our students, and the flexibility that will be provided in Rule 20 will also help us fill the teacher shortage gaps that have been occurring over recent years. And so this is supported by NCTE, and I believe that is a positive step forward in providing that flexibility, not only for the teacher prep programs, but also for school districts in the state of Nebraska.
Thank you, Mr. Lenahan. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak regarding the revisions to Rule 20? Let me go to my next screen here. I don't see any other hands raised. Is there anyone that I have missed? If so, can you please let us know? I don't see anyone. So, Kelly, is there anything you would like to add at this time?
No, thank you. Just thank you to the folks who testified. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. This closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 20. Thank you for your testimony. We will now begin the hearing on Rule 21. Regulations for the issuance of certificates and permits to teach, provide special services, and administer in Nebraska schools, with Clayton Waddle from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Clayton, you may begin now.
My name is Dr. Clayton Waddle, and I'm the Director of Educator Certification at the Nebraska Department of Education. The following is a short summary of the revisions to Rule 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 21, Regulations for the Issuance of Certificates and Permits to Teach, Provide Special Services, and Administer in Nebraska Schools. The 004.09, Alternative Program Administrative Permit Requirements. Additional alternative pathways have been added to this permit type to allow a 6 hours renewal and a 15-hour renewal. The provisional administrative permit will be eliminated, and the pathways will be added to the alternative program administrative permit. The purpose is to merge similar permits into one and add clarity. 004.10 through 004.14, the Nebraska Entry Administrative Permit. The Nebraska Entry Administrative Permit allows for those who have held an administrative license in another state for at least 1 year, but do not qualify for a regular administrative certificate in Nebraska to become certified. The Nebraska Entry Administrative Permit was added as a result of LB 1218. 005.10, teaching certificate renewal for a certificate that has been expired for more than 5 years. Four additional methods that can be used to renew a teaching certificate have been added. They include working for a school or service provider in another state, for a U.S. Department of Defense school, in a pre-kindergarten program which requires teachers to hold a certificate, and employment as a faculty member in an educator preparation program at a standard institution of higher education. The methods for renewal are present if a certificate has been expired for less than 5 years, and there is a need to be consistent with both renewal categories. 005.11, alternative program teaching permit. Additional pathways have been added to the alternative program teaching permit while merging the transitional teaching permit and the provisional teaching permit. The Nebraska legislature added 2 pathways in 2021, which need to be added. The transitional teaching permit and provisional teaching permit were added as additional pathways due to their similarity to the alternative permit. The ability to renew an alternative permit was included, as there are applicants who need more than the 2-year timeframe to complete their program. 005.24, the local substitute permit. A request from the school district to issue a local substitute permit and the need to possess more than 1 local substitute permit is no longer needed. The changes will provide portability of local substitute permits by allowing permit holders to work in multiple school systems without applying for multiple permits or the need for a letter from each school system. 005.27 through 005.30, the Nebraska Entry Teaching Permit. This permit allows for someone who has held a teaching certificate in another state for at least 1 year, but do not qualify for a regular teaching certificate in Nebraska who do not qualify for a regular teaching certificate in Nebraska to become certified. The Nebraska Entry Teaching Permit was added as a result of LB 1218. 007.02, the conditional permit issuance requirements. A provision was added to allow for the issuance of a conditional permit if an applicant is missing the human relations training course. Currently, an applicant who is missing the human relations training course is only eligible for a temporary permit. Once a temporary permit is used, an applicant would need to apply again for a certificate of permit to be issued without the deficiency of the human relations requirement. The change means that the temporary permit would no longer be needed and would be removed. 008, military permit. The military permit requirements were changed in statute to remove the human relations training and the length of permit and the length of time an applicant needs to hold a certificate to be eligible for a military permit. With the passage of LB 389, changes were made to the existing military permit. 009.08, reapply following denial. The additional language stating that an applicant would be prohibited from applying for 1 calendar year once an application has been denied. Language was added to clarify when someone would be able to apply once their application has been denied. Also, there were technical cleanup. Technical cleanup has been included throughout the update, where state statute language was duplicated and the references to Rule 23 have been removed. Other clarifications were made to provide interpretive language. Typographical changes and renumbering were also included in this draft. And this concludes my comments.
Thank you, Clayton. All right, it's now time for public comment. Anyone who wishes to comment, could you please raise your hand or use the raise hand function, I guess, in our Zoom? Ms. Fraser, did I pronounce that correctly? Amy Fraser, is that right?
Some kind of function, sorry, so I'm glad that worked.
Okay, if you could go ahead and just begin your testimony by spelling your first and last name and then just letting us know if you're speaking individually or on behalf of an organization or entity, please.
Yes, my name is Amy, spelled A-M-Y, Fraser, F-R-A-S-E-R, and today I'm testifying individually. I live in York, Nebraska, and I have been teaching full-time music education as a professor at York University for the last 13 years. And I will be moving to a 612 vocal music position in the fall this coming year. I am speaking to Rule 21, Section 00510C2, I believe, which outlines the means that to renew a certificate that has been expired for more than 5 years by accepting college teaching experience. My responsibilities at York have included teacher certification courses, student teacher supervising, and multiple courses required for our K-12 vocal music education candidates. In addition to the above experience, I'm working on my PhD in music education at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm ABD and plan to defend in the next year. And I have worked in the music education program as a GA at UNL, teaching music method courses and working with student teachers through UNL as well, supervising them. I did take a few years off during COVID of my PhD work, so my credit hours, which have accumulated, are not the 15 required that would allow me to simply recertify. So I'm presenting my testimony today regarding my recertification to teach K-12 vocal music here in the state of Nebraska. I will personally benefit from the changes of this rule as I have not kept myself certified to teach in the K-12 setting. It was a mistake on my part, but I did not think I would ever do this again in this public school setting. As I mentioned above, I've accepted a 612 vocal music position in York, and I do need to recertify. The time that has lapsed is more than 5 years. And according to the current way that this rule is written, I will need to apply for a provisional certificate and take 15 credit hours within the next 2 years in order to continue teaching in this setting. I do believe that the courses I've taught and my work while supervising student teachers at both UNL and York University show that I'm qualified to teach in the K-12 setting. And I have been preparing candidates to teach and qualified to teach the very courses, the 15 credit hours that I would need to take in order to get the full teaching certificate. So I'm supporting the changes in Rule 21 as stated above, and I believe it is not only to my benefit, but also to others who are in my current situation.
Great, thank you, Amy. Sarah Scretta, you appear to have your hand up, is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Dr. Sarah Scretta, S-A-R-A, S-K-R-E-T-T-A, and I am representing the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and am the Senior Director of Accreditation, Placement, and Licensure, and serve as a certification officer, and am here today in that capacity in support of the changes proposed for Rule 21. As Nebraska's land-grant university, a Research One designated institution, UNL is home to the College of Education and Human Sciences, a comprehensive state and nationally accredited educator preparation program. We're dedicated to preparing high-quality teachers, educational leaders, school counselors, and school psychologists to effectively meet the diverse needs of Nebraska students and the larger educational community. During this time of severe educator workforce shortages, removing barriers to licensure while maintaining a commitment to quality preparation must be a priority. And we're pleased to see that the State Board of Education will be considering rule changes that align with that concept, including the proposed changes to Rule 21. The expansion of the alternative permit pathways is a positive addition, as it should provide more avenues to candidates within Nebraska and outside of the state to qualify for an alternative permit. This should assist school districts in filling classroom vacancies with teachers who have educational training versus those who do not. The proposed changes strike a balance between expanding alternative certification options to increase the number of candidates while maintaining the required standard and high quality of teacher preparation our Nebraska students deserve and parents expect. The proposed changes to the human relations requirement is also one that UNL supports. This allows flexibility for educator preparation programs and candidates. While programs may continue to offer the human relations training as a singular class, these elements may also be addressed in multiple ways embedded throughout a candidate's program. UNL would request guidance be provided regarding the documentation or verification that would be required by the Nebraska Department of Education for meeting the human relations requirement should the proposed rule changes be approved. Expanding the local substitute certification to be more universal in all Nebraska school districts, as well as extending the length of the permit, are changes we also support. They should positively impact the substitute teacher shortage while creating efficiencies in the administrative processes for the permit. We thank President Goebbels and members of the State Board of Education for their dedication to ensuring that effective and efficient rules are in place to guide educator certification as an efficient process that's flexible, but maintains high quality preparation as a standard. We appreciate their time and dedication to maintaining the continued high achievement of Nebraska students and high quality Nebraska educators. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Scretta. Is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding Rule 21 and its revisions at this time? I don't see anyone else with their hand up. If you would like to speak, you can verbally tell me in case I did not see you, but I don't think I see anyone else at this time. Okay. At this time, we will close the public hearing, but Clayton, before we do, did you have any clarification you'd like to add?
I have no further comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. This closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 21. We will now begin the hearing on Rule 24, Regulations for Certificate Endorsements, with Kelly Heineke from the Nebraska Department of Education, again describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Kelly, would you like to please begin?
Sure. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Kelly Heineke. I'm the Director of Educator Preparation Program Approval at the Nebraska Department of Education. And the following is a short synopsis of the revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 24, Regulations for Certificate Endorsements. Starting with the new edition, Section 004.01, Application Procedures. Changes were added to allow out-of-state teachers to not take a content test if they have 2 or more years of teaching experience in their content area, as well as to allow educators who do not pass the content test, if hired by a school system, to teach for 2 years on a permit in their endorsement area to demonstrate content knowledge. Moving on to Section 004.04, Provisional Special Education. We are replacing the term provisional special education with interim special education because according to federal law, in order to be considered qualified, the state shall ensure that each person employed as a special education teacher in the state who teaches elementary school, middle school, or secondary school has not had special education certification or licensure requirements waived on an emergency, temporary, or provisional basis. The use of the word provisional in the title has caused confusion about this endorsement, so the language is being adjusted. Section 005.02, Principal. The grade level was changed for this endorsement from 712 to 612. Additionally, under the certification endorsement requirements section, language was changed to remove confusion and create greater clarity around the number of graduate semester hours and clock hours for internship/field experiences required for the different endorsement grade bands offered. Next, 006.05 Anthropology. Anthropology was deleted as an endorsement that can be added. This endorsement is only for individuals who already hold this endorsement or are recommended for this endorsement by standard institutions of higher education prior to August 1st, 2022. Nebraska institutions will not be able to recommend this endorsement for placement on teaching certificates after August 1st, 2023. Section 006.19 economics, section 006.25 geography, section 006.31 history, section 006.41 political science, section 006.42 psychology, and section 006.56 sociology. The grade levels were changed from all of these endorsements from grade 712 to 612. Under certification endorsement requirements, these endorsements require a minimum of 36 semester hours, including 30 hours in the endorsement area, for example, economics, geography, etc., and 6 semester hours in one or more of the social studies areas, economics, geography, history, political science, psychology, and sociology. Note that anthropology has been removed as one of the social studies areas. 006.20 elementary education. Under certification endorsement requirements, language is changed to remove confusion and create greater clarity. Language was removed to avoid duplication of coursework that is already addressed in Rule 20. And academic coursework language is streamlined to remove coursework language that is not directly related to academic coursework. Section 006.23 English language arts. The grade level was changed from 712 to 612. And under certification endorsement requirements, language was changed to reflect a focus on foundational reading, language and literacy development, supporting readers at all levels, writing, literature, and communications. Section 006.48 school librarian. Language was revised in this endorsement to include and reflect current verbiage that's being used in the industry. Section 006.51 secondary English. The grade level was changed from 712 to 612, and certification endorsement requirements. The language here was changed to reflect a focus on foundational reading, language and literacy development, supporting readers at all levels, writing, literature, and communications. Section 006.55 social studies. The grade level was changed from 712 to 612. Language and endorsement requirements were revised to include and reflect newer Nebraska standards. Anthropology will no longer be offered as a course of study to meet the program requirements. Certification endorsement requirements revision includes 60 hours total still required. However, those hours have been redistributed as such, requiring 12 hours, formerly 9 hours, of study in American history, requiring 12 hours, formerly 9 hours, of study in world history, requiring 9 hours, formerly 6 hours, of study in political science, government, or civics coursework, requiring 9 hours, formerly 6 hours, in behavioral sciences with 6 hours in psychology and 3 hours in sociology coursework, requiring 9 hours, formerly 6 hours, in geography with 3 hours of human geography and 6 hours of geography electives, requiring 9 hours, formerly 6 hours, in economics with 3 hours in microeconomics and 3 hours in macroeconomics, and 3 hours of economics electives. And lastly, requiring 3 hours of required social studies coursework to be directly related to topics of study specific to the state/region of Nebraska. 006.72 world language. The grade levels were changed from K8, 712, and K12 to K8, 612, and K12. Language and endorsement requirements were revised to include and reflect newly adopted Nebraska standards. Increase in the number of hours from 15 to 30 that institutions may waive for a candidate to demonstrate proficiency in the language of the endorsement being sought. Testing options, in addition to Praxis 2, were expanded to include the oral proficiency interview, which is the OPI, at advanced low level of proficiency in Western languages, or at the intermediate high level for non-Western and classical languages, or the Common European Framework of Reference for Language, the CEFR, at C1 level for Western languages and B2 for non-Western languages. And lastly, Appendix C, the Nebraska Rule 24 endorsements, content tests and passing scores was removed. It was deleted to remove any mention of specific testing companies, test numbers, or passing scores in rule, and to allow the board to set minimums outside of rule. This concludes my summary.
Thank you, Kelly. Would anyone like to speak regarding Rule 24 at this time? Ms. Jones, Kimberly Jones, if you could please start out by spelling your first and last name for the record, and then telling us if you're testifying individually or on behalf of an organization or entity. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, my name, for some reason I'm echoing, but my name is Kimberly Jones, KIMBERLYJONES. And then I am a principal for OPS Gifford Park Elementary. And I am basically testifying today on behalf of Gifford Park and a teacher that I have at Gifford Park, Robin Etter. And we are focusing on the Praxis 2 as a method for providing a certification to a teacher. So I'm going to use a teacher that I have currently as an example. Miss Etter has passed her Praxis test, Praxis 1. She joined us. She's graduated from a Nebraska university. She joined us January of 22 as a new teacher to take the place of a teacher that had resigned mid-year. And as we know, that can be difficult to do, putting procedures and routines in place, taking over classroom environment. And with that, she ended the year growing the kids in her class more so than that of a tenured teacher that has taught for many years. This year, for this school year, I moved her into a second grade classroom because I thought that would be a good fit, as well as parents had such positive input about her that we wanted to move her up to that grade level as well. So throughout the year, she has continued to try and pass her Praxis test. And I know she's one of many teachers in Nebraska that are doing this. She has hired a tutor as well. And I think she's short just a few points. As a result, her temporary certification was pulled in the fall, I believe, and she continued to take it. That's her goal, to get it passed. However, I do want to say that that is not the only method to evaluate a teacher and their effectiveness. Administration, their input, her ability to grow kids academically. She has proven that again this year through the MAP testing, significantly showing more growth of her students in both reading and math than co-teachers. Again, we have a lot of experience in our building, and she has effectively increased achievement for students in a very high ESL populated building. And those subgroups as well have shown improvement. I think that if you are able to consider other options for her, such as even assigning her administrator as her mentor or another teacher as her mentor for 2 full years, that would be in the behalf of not only Ms. Etter, but many other teachers in Nebraska in this time that we have a shortage and teachers are resigning. Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't unmuted. Thank you, Ms. Jones. I see that Ms. Etter is also with us today, and given that you just prepared your remarks and presented them, Ms. Jones. Ms. Etter, would you like to go next since your administrator was speaking regarding you?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay, can you speak up a little bit, ma'am? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sure. Can you hear me better?
That's better for me. Anybody else? Let me check on my folks here and make sure that they can hear you okay. Let me just get a sound check. Okay, just a moment, please, Ms. Etter.
Okay.
Yes, they said that was much better. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the other thing I was going to add, and I apologize for interrupting you, but also, can you tell us what action you'd like the board to take when you conclude your testimony?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Robin Etter, Robinnetter. I'm located in Omaha, Nebraska. I currently teach at the Omaha Public Schools at Gifford Park Elementary School. I am here on behalf of myself and a lot of other educators that are in my situation. First off, I want to say that I graduated from Midland University with honors. I also have a previous degree. I have been teaching now for almost about 2 years. And like my principal had said, I have grown my students in both reading and math. I have passed all Praxis Core, reading, math, and writing. I am currently struggling with the Praxis 2. I have gotten a tutor. I have been working very hard to try to pass this test. In my opinion, this test does not say what kind of teacher I am or what I can do for my students. The test was mainly targeted for 5th and 6th grade teachers, in my opinion, and I am a 2nd grade teacher. It also had math and music and PE on the test, which I do not teach. I'm not a good test taker. I never have been, even through high school and college. So that in itself was difficult. It's a very expensive test, very stressful, time consuming. And I feel that I am learning a lot when I student taught. And here at Gifford Park, my administrators do come in and watch me do lessons. And then they will come back and meet with me and tell me what I have done good and what I can do better at. I tutor my lower students 4 days a week this year, almost the whole year. I also coach. I am very involved in the school. I love being an educator, and that's why I did not leave when I lost all my benefits because of one test. I don't want to give up my my position, as I have worked very hard and I love what I do. I believe that some ways that could be done for this would be if someone in my shoes graduated from a Nebraska college, had high grades, had a letters of recommendations from their student teacher, cooperative teacher, their principal, and even passed the Praxis Core, and has shown growth also while I'm teaching. I believe this change would benefit me, but also benefit a lot of other educators that are in my position, especially with the teacher shortage. And this situation, it also shows that I have experience, and a lot of these other educators in my position have experience teaching also. And so I feel that all of these things, I think, could help to keep more educators in and not to leave the profession over one test. So I just wanted to thank you for letting me speak today on behalf of myself and a lot of educators that are in my position. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Etter.
Thank you.
Mr. Lenahan, did you want to be heard on Rule 24 as well?
Yes, please.
Great, thank you.
Mark Lenahan, MarkLenihan, Superintendent at Wayne Community Schools, also the President of the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education. I'm speaking in support of the proposed revisions to Rule 24 related to endorsements. It has been approved by the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education, which is an advisory to the State Board of Education and made up of school administrators, teachers, and higher education professionals. These revisions are necessary to keep endorsements current with content area revisions in the changing world in which we live. NCTE also supports adding 2 years of employment to serve as the equivalent to the content exam for Nebraska candidates who do not pass the Praxis content exam for their endorsement area. This provides an equitable pathway to licensure for in-state prepared teacher candidates to that which exists for out-of-state candidates and removes the barrier of a singular test for licensure. And I do also want to take the opportunity to thank you for hearing me twice today, and also to the state board for their leadership in making these good changes that will help Nebraska education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Linehan. Suzanne Kemp, would you like to testify as well?
Yes, thank you. My name is Dr. Suzanne Kemp, SUZANNEKEMP, and I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I am in the Department of Special Education Communication Disorders, which is part of the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And I'm here today to provide testimony to support the proposed changes of Rule 24. As Nebraska's land-grant university and a Research One designation institution, UNL is home to the College of Education and Human Sciences and a comprehensive state nationally accredited education preparation program. CHS is dedicated to preparing high-quality teachers, educational leaders, speech-language pathologists, school counselors, and school psychologists who effectively meet the diverse needs of Nebraska students and the larger educational community. We support the changes in Rule 24 because they provide additional and updated guidance that have been pending. It is important to have updated endorsements move ahead to avoid further delay as it affects EPP's ability to provide accurate and complement programming for students. In addition, these proposed changes ensure the specific endorsements reflect current standards. The Nebraska Department of Education convenes stakeholder groups, and each endorsement is up for review. The Teacher Council of Teacher Education reviews those revised endorsements, often crafting modifications or sending them back if revisions are not satisfactory. Therefore, we know that the endorsements have been adequately vetted by the process used by the Nebraska by educational experts prior to being proposed for change. So in conclusion, I would like to thank the State Board of Education for its dedication to ensuring the rules that guide education preparation require high quality programs, but are current, reasonable, and flexible, and encourage you to pass the proposed changes in Rule 24. Thank you for the board's time, dedication, and work to maintain the continued high achievement of Nebraska students and educators.
Thank you, Ms. Kemp. Ms. Neary, did you also wish to be heard on Rule 24? Ms. Neary, are you there?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. I wasn't sure. Am I allowed to ask a question at this time regarding one of the changes, or is that not part of this process?
Let me check with our expert. Can you give me one moment, please, Ms. Neary?
Thank you.
Thank you. They're typing back. I apologize for making you wait, Ms. Neary. I just want to make sure we're doing the correct process. So
I am glad you're checking. Thank you. And I apologize for.
no, you're fine.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Okay.
that we're
Thank
doing
you.
everything correctly. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, so the response that I received back is not part of this process, but you'll have an opportunity later on, which I would understand to mean probably during the board meeting or during a
You
committee
bet.
hearing
I
or
will.
meeting.
I can ask my question then. Sorry, I interrupted. Thank
Oh,
you.
no, you're fine, Miss Neary. Thank you.
All right.
Is there anyone else that would like to testify in support of Rule 24 or in opposition to Rule 24? Any other comments about Rule 24? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Vander. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly. Is it Vander Heiden? That's what I would say. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, please, sir.
Yes. My name's Tim Vander Heiden, Tim V as in Victor, ANDERHEIDEN. I'm superintendent of schools at McPherson County Schools. McPherson County Schools is a remote rural school, also the smallest of Nebraska's public schools. And I am testifying on behalf of our school district in support of these revisions in Rule 24. I do want to speak to Section 004, where it talks about allowing a teacher from another state with 2 years experience. In my conversation with Brad Dirksen leading up to this, he said that the intent is the broad definition of state being another state of the United States or international teacher from another country. This greatly will affect us if that is the intent, because we have just lost an international teacher this year. We had hired one 2 years ago, 10-year experience, came into our district, showed amazing understanding of content, connected well with our teachers, took the Praxis 2 multiple times, failing once by 1 point, another time by 4 points, and then just started getting some text anxiety and went downhill. Dr. Waddle and Mr. Dirksen were great working with us, trying to help us any way possible. But we now got to the point where her provisional was running out and there was nothing else we could do. So we ended up losing this teacher to Arizona. She also had a contract to Minnesota where they did not have these limitations on teachers, which led us to have to advertise again for a position that it took us 5 years to fill. And so we've had to go out of the US again, where we've got a contract now with a science person, 14 years experience out of Nigeria. And so I can see this repeating itself. And I guess what I would wish is if that is the intent when it's referring to another state, maybe a clarification in section 003 in definitions of what state is. While all of us here may know that this is the broad intent and the broad definition, we know how things happen down the road when people change and they don't hear conversations of what the intent is. So my request would be, if that is truly the definition that they are using, that they put that into 003 as a definition of what is considered state, and that it is not just the states of the United States. Again, I speak on behalf of my school district. I know that there are multiple districts now that have had to resort to hire international teachers, many within my district, 42 in North Platte, several out in Imperial. So I know this will affect not just myself, but many other school districts. Again, I want to thank the school board for their efforts in making it easier for us to recruit other teachers and to maintain the consistency for our students within our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vander Heiden, for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to testify regarding the proposed revisions to Rule 24? Looking for any more hands. I don't see anyone. If there's someone I missed, can you please identify yourself verbally? I don't see anyone else. Kelly, would you like to ask any questions, answer any questions, or provide any further comment as we close the hearing?
Yes, I would like to clear up one inconsistency in my summary, where I mentioned in 006.72 under world language, I referenced the oral proficiency interview and the Common European Framework for Reference for Languages. Both of those will no longer be in rule because we have, as I also said in Appendix C, which has those test names, we are removing all references and will no longer be explicitly stating those things in rule. So I just wanted to make sure that I cleared that up. Otherwise, I do not have any further comment.
Thank you, Kelly. This closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 24. We will now begin the hearing on Title 93, Nebraska Department of Education Personnel Rules, with Joel Sherling from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Joel, you may begin.
Thank you. For the record, I'm Joel Sherling, Human Resources Administrator at the Nebraska Department of Education. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony on the proposed changes to the NDE personnel rules. The personnel rules have been revised largely to update provisions to align with corollary changes made to the collective bargaining agreement for 2023-25. Staff members were advised of the hearing via an email, which included links to the summary of changes, as well as the entire document showing proposed changes in legislative format. Staff members were invited to attend and testify at the hearing, or to submit written testimony if they were unable to attend. Now I'll highlight some of the proposed changes to the personnel rules. Because we've previously disseminated a summary of the major changes, as well as the entire document in legislative format, I will review just a few of the significant revisions that are proposed. In Chapter 5, a requirement was added for supervisors to hold performance management sessions with employees outside of the formal appraisal conferences. The requirements for probationary appraisals were changed. Supervisors would no longer be required to complete a 90-day appraisal for those on a 6-month probationary period and a 6-month appraisal for those on a 12-month probationary period. In Chapter 6, reclassification and demotion salary changes will be based on placement in the new classification on the same numbered step on the pay scales as the employee's previous classification. In Chapter 8, deputy or commissioner prior approval would no longer be required for overtime requests. There were several changes of note in Chapter 9, leave and holidays. Those include the addition of the Juneteenth holiday, and Indigenous Peoples Day was added to the Columbus holiday listing. We added a 60 calendar day window for exempt employees to take deferred holiday leave when they worked on a holiday. Expanded the allowable use of sick leave to include uses in conjunction with approved leave under the Family Medical Leave Act. Added nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles to the definition of immediate family, and clarified eligible children for use of bereavement leave. And lastly, we made a clarification to the eligibility for adoption leave. In Chapter 14, grievance procedures, Step 1 of the grievance process was removed. Response times were made consistent at 15 workdays each. In Chapter 15, miscellaneous, language was added regarding coursework reimbursement eligibility, and language regarding moving expense reimbursement was updated. This concludes my overview of some of the proposed changes to the NDE personnel rules. At this time, we plan to request approval of the proposed revisions at the State Board of Education's meeting on June 2nd, 2023.
Thank you, Joel. Would anyone like to testify regarding the proposed changes to Title 93, which are the personnel rules that Mr. Sherling has just explained? I'm not seeing any hands raised. If I missed you, I apologize. Could you please maybe verbalize if you want to testify and I have not seen your hand raised, perhaps? I don't see any testimony. Joel, did you have any concluding remarks at this time?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This will close the hearing on the proposed revisions to Title 93 and also will close the hearings for today. Thank you everyone for your participation and have a nice afternoon. Take care.